The life you seek demands the death of the person you are today. This is the alchemical secret to your rebirth. If you don't know how to let go of your old self, your freedom will be impossible. You stand before the alchemical death of the self, the powerful, yet unsettling journey that dissolves all outdated beliefs and limiting identities. Discovering your true self is forged in the ashes of who you once were. We will navigate this path to the true awakening of consciousness, where suffering ends as you embrace the finale. In this video, we will journey together through the profound and often disturbing process of personal development that the alchemy of the soul requires. This is not a physical death, but a deep surrender of obsolete ego structures. Spirituality teaches us that life is a continuous cycle of death and emergence. The psychologist Carl Jung called this path individuation, the journey to become the totality of who you truly are, and not just what the world expects. But, as the wise poet Rumi reminded us, the wound is the place where the light enters you. The road to the light requires that we first face the darkness of the end. But how do we recognize the exact point where this death needs to begin? Transformation is never a planned event. It is an inevitable response to an unsustainable pressure. The catalyst for alchemical death is the moment when life demands a deeper shift than just superficial solutions. Perhaps you are living this silent urgency, validation of the pain. Perhaps you are going through a time when everything feels meaningless, even when, on the outside, your life seems to be right. This restlessness, this existential anguish, is not a sign of failure. It is the recognition of the call to adventure, often disguised as discomfort or disillusionment. It is the soul signaling that the current identity structures no longer serve. In Carl Jung's view, the crisis is an invitation to the unconscious. The rigid structures we built to protect ourselves, the job, the title, the demanded perfection, become prisons. Spiritual awakening begins when we realize that the old map does not lead us to the new territory. What once was safety is now a burden. At this turning point, where the pain is intense and certainty fades, remember, not all pain is punishment. Some are invitations. They are invitations to your process of self-knowledge. It is the universe listening to you at the exact moment you begin to listen to yourself. What is the price in peace and vitality that your soul pays to keep alive an identity that no longer serves you? When the price of maintaining the old self becomes unbearable, there is no turning back. The soul then enters the purifying fire. Once the process is initiated, we enter the alchemical crucible, the inner vessel where the self is deconstructed. This alchemical stage is putrefaction, the necessary decomposition for new life. The main work is facing your shadow. The shadow, in Jung's psychology of the soul, is everything we reject in ourselves: repressed fears, insecurities, unrecognized parts. We cannot achieve wholeness without integrating what is dark. Inner silence reveals the shadow, demanding that you bring it to light and embrace it, for it contains the vital energy necessary for your spiritual awakening. The disintegration of the ego is felt as the discomfort of dissolution, as a profound loss. It is the grief for the self we were so certain we were. Rigid egoic attachment is what generates resistance and suffering. It is the illusion that we are only our name, our job title, or our past. Letting go is the radical act of opening up to the possibility of being nobody. Taoism teaches us the wisdom of non-forcing. To advance on the inner path, it is vital to differentiate healthy self-preservation from the tyranny of the ego. Self-preservation is the wisdom of the being. The ego is the stubbornness of the superficial self. The vessel only serves because it has empty space. Your soul is asking for this fertile emptiness to be filled with the sacred. Invitation to inner listening. What is your ego desperately trying to protect that actually needs to be released so your soul can breathe? The liberation of the ego, however, does not immediately lead us to the light. It leads us to the void, a state of sacred suspension. After deconstruction, the soul traverses the dark night of the soul. This is the stage where uncertainty, confusion, and meaninglessness seem to dominate. You have abandoned who you were, but you have not yet found who you will be. The old world has crumbled, and the new one has not yet formed. It is the peak of spiritual solitude. However, this state of suspension is the testing ground for your presence. The fertile void is not absence. It is the womb of the invisible. It is in the silence, in the absence of familiar identities, that we find resilience and wisdom. It is when we stop fighting what hurts that emotional healing begins. The phoenix symbolizes this power to emerge from the ashes, to find strength in surrender. The philosophical wisdom of Stoicism teaches us active acceptance, to accept impermanence and pain as part of the process. There is no light without darkness, nor birth without prior death. The darkness of the cave is necessary for introspection and for the new inner light to be seen. The first glimpses of the authentic self are subtle, changes in perspective, new values, and the emergence of desires that come from the living soul and not from social expectations. It is intuition, the subtle wind of the spirit, beginning to guide you. If you allowed today's void to be a fertile field, what would your soul plant in it tomorrow? The birth is not the end of the work. After the phoenix emerges from the ashes, the deepest challenge begins, that of anchoring and manifesting the new consciousness in everyday reality. Psychological rebirth is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new way of being. It is the moment to embody the transformed self, to live from a place of greater authenticity and alignment. The new consciousness forged in the crucible now seeks to manifest in the matter of your life. This new reality requires the restructuring of your outer life. Redefining relationships and boundaries based on your improved understanding is essential. Where the old ego sought approval and control, the new being moves with fluidity and gentleness with the now. The integrity of your inner path must be reflected in the integrity of your interactions. Integrating the new consciousness means transcending simple behavioral change and achieving inner reform. The wisdom of Lao Tzu, the father of Taoism, reminds us that life is a river that teaches non-resistance. You are no longer fighting against life. You become the flow of it. Consolidating this renewed identity is an act of presence. You need to honor what has been born, protecting it from the old tendency to return to obsolete self-knowledge patterns. Personal development now translates into daily practices that promote inner listening and reconnection with the being. Your biology responds to your spirituality. What is the first practical step you will take today to align your behaviors and your relationships with a new consciousness born in your heart? The true beauty of this new life, however, is not in its arrival, but in its permanence. And this is where the final wisdom resides. The final wisdom is to understand that psychological rebirth is not an isolated event, but a continuous and dynamic process. Life is an uninterrupted series of alchemical deaths and new emergences. It is a cycle that demands the courage to continuously let go of obsolete versions of yourself as you grow and evolve. The true meaning of living authentically is not finding a fixed identity, but embracing impermanence. The soul is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. Life is a winding river that teaches softness. Self-knowledge is, in essence, the act of dying before you die. This psychological death will set you free. It is the secret to your inner freedom and to a life in deep reconnection with the being. Honoring this cycle is the highest form of contemplative spirituality. When we honor this continuous cycle of death and rebirth, we understand the purpose of all hidden wisdom. Alchemical wisdom teaches that at every moment, the alchemical journey invites us to a new crossing. The work of forging the self never ends, because the universe expands, and your consciousness must follow this movement. Embrace, therefore, the end of your old self as a perpetual portal to what is authentic. The alchemical death of the self is the deepest invitation to the life that pulses within you. It reminds us that it is not what happens outside, it is what vibrates inside. It is the opportunity to become the candle that stays lit in the silence. For an instant, close your eyes and visualize your old self turning into light ashes. Feel the lightness of liberation and the flame of consciousness lit in your chest, like the phoenix. You have been reborn. And what if the feeling of loss you feel today was, in fact, the portal to the spiritual truth and freedom you have always sought? If these words have touched something within you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of rediscovering your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone needed to find. And if you wish to follow this vibration, watch the video we left pinned in the card. It was chosen with care to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.